And Proto, State GOP Chairman, what do you guys hope will get accomplished this legislative session?
What I'd really like to see happen is for the legislature, particularly the majority Democrats, to finally figure out it's important to protect the people of the state of Connecticut, protect the fiscal guardrails. They're there for a reason. They've done a really good job. And to start working on legislation that will help bring down the cost of living in this state. You know, we've now are the #1 state for energy costs in the country. We're continually in the top 2 or 3 of taxes. Our wage growth has not kept up with the
Rails could be a big issue this year. So the argument on the one side is this bipartisan compromise led to our credit rating being dropped and these great surpluses. The argument on the other side, it was based on a formula that didn't account for us reaching the maximum on the rainy day fund, so we can't even put more in, although there's a lot of pension debts still to pay down. What do you say to people who say, given Bob Stefanowski, when he ran for governor, said it's a rainy day, let's go on the rainy day fund? What do you say to people who say we've maxed out on what we're hoping to save there, why not open up a little money for community colleges or early childhood care?
Well, I would make the counter argument to that. If we've maxed out as much as we need, how about if we give it back to the taxpayers? Because ultimately it's revenues that are coming from the taxpayers. And if we all agree, and I think we all agree, that the cost of living in Connecticut is much too high, and one of the arguments the Democrats make, which I think is a real specious argument, is that if we loosen up the guardrails, we can help people pay their bills. I'm not sure how loosening the guardrails reduces $6 a dozen eggs or $4.50 milk, or reduces the energy costs. You want to help people pay their bills, give them back some of that money. It's their money.
Why not, instead of giving it back tax relief, paying down the pension debt more?
So before we do that, let's stop giving state employees 33% pay raises over 6 years, because here's the thing. We've paid down $5 to $6 billion in pension debt, but we've only reduced the pension liability about $1.5 billion. One of the reasons for that, the primary reasons for that, is because we've given outrageously expensive pay raises over the last 6 years, bonuses during COVID, additional monies to state employees, which have increased the pension liability. So the CBAC is up for negotiation this year, maybe a wage freeze, no increases for another year or so, because at the end of the day, we still have among the highest paid state employees in the country, and we have probably more state employees per capita than any other state. If you look at a state like Indiana, which has 6.5 million people, which is about twice the size of the state of Connecticut, they have 32,000 state employees to our 45,000 state employees. So maybe we slow down on the amount of money we're paying state employees. That will help bring down the pension debt, because if we give them raises, that's going to increase the pension debt, and you're never going to catch up.
Wallingford has a municipally owned power system, and they have lower rates and fewer brownouts. So why don't we switch to municipally owned power rather than privately owned companies that get these monopolies from government?
Well, I think, one, it would be tremendously expensive, because obviously you have both Eversource and United Illuminating, which have tens of billions of dollars of infrastructure investment that would have to be acquired by a public entity. So obviously those costs would have to be absorbed in some way, shape, or form. And we learned that lesson back in the 90s when we deregulated the energy market, and we had all the stranded costs that were there that the taxpayers ended up paying for over 20 years. So it may not be a logistically possible thing to do or financially possible thing to do. But I do think there are some things we can do. For instance, all the public benefit charges that appear on the bill, those are taxes. If you want to run a special program for a legislative pet project, then run it through the general fund, run it through the usual tax structure, take that off the energy bill. That accounts for 20 to 25% of the bill. That's an easy reduction right there, and you can take that out throughout if you really want these programs, and not all of them are necessary, and a lot of them have hundreds of millions of dollars already in them. Let's get rid of those.